Good afternoon, everybody. In considering the idea of something being natural, I kind of think we have to broaden the definition simply because of human interference. So, if we're going to share the same space as flora and fauna, we need to be considered a part of the ecosystem rather than separate from the system. As humans, we can't keep believing that we are like completely separate from the earth and the natural processes. We are as much a part of the ecological community as any other species. So, as much as preservation is an ideal, we can't preserve an already altered ecosystem. So, that's why we have to conserve and restore. So, I support restoration because we want an ecosystem to be functioning and beneficial for all involved. So, my three reasons in support of ecological restoration would be reason one, if we let nature take its course, we go the preservation route, having it untouched by humans and just letting it flourish. We could potentially lose important natural resources that we need for ecosystem stability and integrity. Because at this point, nature has been altered by us. So, for example, as Dr. Hagen mentioned in the lecture, something that may have been considered natural decades ago may not be natural now due to climate change or landscape changes. So perhaps 100 years ago, um, like the Brazilian pepper plant that we read about in the article, that had yet to be introduced to the ecosystem. So letting nature take its course maybe would not have been completely irresponsible. But now, if we let nature take its course in the Everglades and we didn't interfere, plants and species like that can wreak havoc on the natural system. So, reason two for supporting restoration would be human health. So, human health in general is dependent on ecosystem health. If we didn't attempt to make sure that we had clean water sources and healthy soils, we wouldn't be able to sustain a healthy human life. So, soil and water degradation not only threatens the intrinsic value of an ecosystem, but threatens our ability to produce healthy, sustainable foods and water. So, reason three for supporting restoration would be the cultural significance. So, when we're discussing ecological integrity and historic natural systems, we have to consider TEK, or traditional ecological knowledge. The native people have such a rich culture and history where they have a relationship with the land in a way that we as non-Indigenous people don't share. So, that experience that Indigenous people provide is completely invaluable and I would say underutilized personally, or in my opinion. So ecological restoration or using TEK should not just be used as a tool. It can help sustain the rich diversity of human cultures by supporting the relationships between humans and the environment that are mutually advantageous. So by protecting the rights and livelihoods of Indigenous people and supporting Indigenous research and leadership, that plays such a huge important role in the restoration process. So with all of that said, I did have a little bit of a hard time when addressing the portion of the assignment that was asking for at least three ways the restored community is or is not natural. I would say that in reference to this paper, the community in the Everglades has not been restored to a natural state or even a state we could consider like the new natural. It seems that there's a lot of work to do. So my three examples for this would be those those straight canals that they had considered or had turned in some circumstances into natural meandering channels. Um, as much as that's great, from what the article said, it seems they were only able to do that in 12 miles of the Kissimmee River. So it seems like there would be a lot more to go regarding that. They also mentioned that delivering water like back into the ecosystem, because clearly it was losing a significant amount of water. That water that they added back in was just seeping back out. So in creation of the natural system models that they were using, hopefully they can use those to help better understand how to keep the water inside the Everglades and restore the floodplain. But it seems like they have not been able to find that kind of natural result yet. So the second example would be the removal of exotic species. So foreign species are clearly present in Florida and the Everglades. I think we all know just through media in general about iguanas, about boas. This article obviously talked about the Brazilian pepper plant quite a bit. So none of which are natural. But Florida is such a unique habitat, and tropical and exotic species can just thrive there. So it seems like it would almost be impossible to eliminate all the exotic species from the Everglades. And I think that's another reason why I personally maybe would consider this restoration so far as not natural. Third would be the loss of pines that they spoke about towards the end of the article. So they said 10 of some 26 species of birds that inhabited the park before, the forest before, have not been seen in the past several years. And biologists speculate that the disappearance of the last few woods destroyed an arboreal corridor that these birds traveled southward along. So, um, according to the article, this loss in the pines and in the trees has not been restored. So again, I don't think that the Everglades or that this article really addressed restoring this area to a natural state or even a new natural state. It seemed like all of these issues were kind of addressed and maybe picked out a little bit, but were not completely solved and were certainly not restored. So thank you. That's all I have to say, and thanks for taking the time.